NBA 2K26 is here for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I picked this game up because I was curious how it was actually going to perform on the Switch 2 hardware. Now, I'm gonna come off the bat and say I'm not really a huge basketball fan. I follow basketball very loosely, and I've played basketball games in the past. I have a good time with basketball games, but it's not like my favorite sport, something that I keep up to date with. The main reason I picked this game up is because I wanted to see how it compared to Madden on the Nintendo Switch 2, which I've already reviewed here on the channel. And the reason for that is WWE 2K25 came out from 2K on the Nintendo Switch 2, and that game was fantastic, but Madden came out and had some issues for sure. Texture issues, frame rate issues, all of the above as far as Madden was concerned. It's still a playable experience, just wasn't that great. But I wanted to see if 2K could replicate that with NBA 2K26. So that is exactly what we're gonna do here today. Now, one of the big highlights of 2K26 on the Nintendo Switch 2 is that 2K did confirm that this is the Gen 9 version of NBA 2K26, meaning it is the same version as the PS5 and the Xbox Series S version of the game. And this is noticeable in the fact that all the game modes are present on this game. You're able to do the city mode, you're able to do the stupid game modes where you can spend tons and tons of money. Hey, if you like them, you like them, but I'm not into the gacha games. You could do the My Team stuff like that. So all of that is available in this version of NBA 2K26, just like all the Madden versions are available in that game. And that's a huge plus. But what really was concerning to me is, with this being the Gen 9 version, how does this game actually perform when you get into a match? And I can immediately say that I hopped into a quick play and I was blown away by how good this game actually looks on the Nintendo Switch 2. The graphics are no joke here. I really don't know what sort of wizardry 2K is doing to make the games look and run as well as they do on the Nintendo Switch 2, but they are doing something right, and I hope they continue doing something right moving forward, because man, this game looks good. The character models look really good. The graphics of the courts look fantastic. Even the little like cheerleading sections between quarters all look really well done in this game. There is just a lot of visual fidelity here that I wasn't anticipating, especially after playing Madden on the Nintendo Switch 2. I just wasn't expecting a sports game to look as good as this does. On top of that, the frame rate is incredibly solid. I don't really know what frame rate we're getting on the Nintendo Switch 2 version of this game, but it feels incredibly smooth. Now, I do think that this probably isn't hitting that 60 frames per second benchmark, and I have another reason for that outside of just what I'm seeing with my eyes as to why I think we're not hitting that. However, this game does feature a motion blur setting that does smooth things out, and I think that's really helping this game look smoother than the frame rate it's actually hitting. So honestly, as far as the frames go, it is a very pleasant experience on the eyes. I didn't have any serious issues as far as the frame rate was concerned with this game. Again, I don't think we're hitting that 60 FPS mark, but it just looks very nice. There were no hitches, hiccups, no stuttering, nothing of that nature while I was playing offline. I had no issues at all as far as any sort of game imperfections that I would have noticed, especially like stuff with Madden where, you have the pause between plays and there's the occasional stutter with Madden. I didn't have any of that with NBA 2K26, which is a huge plus in a game that is as competitive as something like a sports title. Now, I did also try the game in handheld mode just to see how it looked. Now, I will say that I feel like it is a noticeable difference. Now, I still think that the textures and the graphics and the overall experience is still incredibly solid in handheld play, but I feel like I did notice a couple more hitches here and there as far as the frame rate was concerned. It feels like the frame rate is a touch slower on handheld mode, and I don't know if that's just a weird oddity that I noticed or if there's actually something happening in the handheld mode. It's still a very smooth and enjoyable experience. I just noticed there were a couple instances where it felt like there was a stutter here or there somewhere along the way while I was playing in handheld. But overall, the handheld experience is also incredibly solid, just like the docked experience is. Now, the reason I say that I don't think we're hitting that 60 FPS benchmark here in this game is because of the fact that this game does not support crossplay online between other platforms. You are locked to playing this game with other people on the Nintendo Switch 2. And the reason for that I believe is there is because we aren't hitting that 60 FPS. The other consoles are likely hitting 60 FPS, and if the Switch 2 is not hitting that 60 FPS, you'd be at a disadvantage compared to the other people that you're playing against. Just like Madden doesn't allow crossplay, I feel like 2K is not allowing crossplay for that same reason, because the FPS is not hitting the same frame rate that the other platforms are. And in a game like this where you need to make those quick game time decisions, you need to have that FPS to be competitive. So if you're playing online with somebody who's got better FPS than you, you're just going to be at a disadvantage. So that is why I also assume that this game is not hitting 60 FPS, is because of the lack of crossplay. Now, unfortunately for this video, I could not for the life of me get a online match, and I don't think that's an issue with the actual online matchmaking system on the Switch 2 version of the game. I am up very, very early today. I have to leave town and go to a wedding 5 hours away, so I got up very early so that way I could get this video done, so that way I had a gameplay impressions for you guys to check out. So I think the issue is that it's launch day for the game, and that I'm up super early, earlier than most people are up playing NBA 2K on the launch day. So I think that's the issue. So unfortunately, I don't have any online impressions on how the game is performing online, but if I had to guess, just based on how WWE 2K is performing online and how people are playing with no issues at all, even doing it with the game share feature on WWE 2K, I would imagine that 2K nailed the online on this. But again, I have no official comments on that because I did not get to experience it. But again, it's so freaking early in the morning. Who is up at 6 a.m. playing NBA 2K right now, aside from me, because I'm a crazy person? Now, I do always like to check this with the sports games, because a lot of them, a lot of games in general these days like to have a connection online to access certain features of the game, and some even require you to be online all the time. So I did shut the internet off on my Nintendo Switch just to make sure that this game would boot up and play online, because I mean, it is a Switch game. If we can't play it on the go handheld, then what's the point? And I can safely confirm that this game does boot up offline. There were no issues in that regard. It just kind of takes away the online option as far as like in the play now settings. You just can't access that, which is perfectly fine. That is just exactly what I was looking for, a way to play this game offline if you are on the go, and that's exactly what you need from a game like this. So can confirm, offline play does work. So all in all, my overall impressions of NBA 2K26 on the Nintendo Switch 2 is that this game looks and runs beautifully on the system. Do I think it's hitting that 60 FPS benchmark that we were hoping for? No, I don't think it does, but honestly, I can't tell what frame rate it's running because it's running so smoothly at whatever frame rate it is at. I'm assuming, again, it's not hitting that 60 FPS benchmark because of the fact that we don't have crossplay on this version of the game, but with how good the game looks, from the player models to how the courts look to even the characters that are just not even a part of the team, they're like the cheerleading squad and things of that nature, everything looks incredibly good in this game, and it all runs incredibly solidly, whether you're playing docked or handheld. So all in all, this experience has been way better than I could have hoped for. And this isn't me like bashing Madden. I still really like Madden on the Nintendo Switch 2, but 2K seems to have their sauce figured out. They seem to have the secret recipe to make games run well on the Nintendo Switch 2. Between NBA 2K26 and WWE 2K25 on the Switch 2, they have proven time and time again that they know what they're doing. So hopefully EA can figure out the sauce as well and get Madden running better next year. And I will say that Madden has done a better job in the recent days since the game has launched. It has actually updated a handful of times, and the game feels much smoother than it did at launch. So there's still hope for Madden 26 to really iron out some kinks, and I still think that game is great, but the main purpose of this video was to really compare it and see if 2K could replicate that formula in the success that they had with WWE 2K as far as performance goes, and I think they nailed it with this entry. If you are interested in 2K26 and you have a Nintendo Switch 2, if you want a basketball game on the go, this is solid. This feels so good to play, and I cannot recommend it enough. There's tons of content between all the game modes. Not missing any game modes compared to other platforms is a really solid bonus. A lot of these sports games like to cut game modes in order to get them running on the Nintendo Switch, but that is not the issue, and I'm pretty sure that the Switch 1 version of this game is missing some components compared to the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game. The Switch 2 version is that Gen 9 version. I don't believe that the Switch 1 version of 2K26 for the Switch is that Gen 9 version, so we definitely have an upgraded version on the Switch 2 compared to the Switch 1 version of this game with more features and stuff. So if you are a Switch 2 owner, this is a solid pickup if you are a basketball fan. But that is going to be it for this video. video, guys. Again, apologies I couldn't get that online video, but again, it is bright and early and I gotta get out of here because I have to drive 5 hours for a wedding. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below if you're gonna pick up NBA 2K26 on the Nintendo Switch 2. Also, let me know what your thoughts are on Madden, if you picked Madden up or not. I'm keen in how you feel comparatively between these two versions of the game. But that is going to be it. Like I said, leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. But until next time, peace.